You know, I didn't want to make this video. However, I feel like I'm forced into it at this point because, these were just supposed to be funny haha comic books. However, they have burrowed into my brain to the point to where I can't stop thinking about it. It's a legitimate problem. So, unfortunately for you, that means that I now am going to share this parasite with you. So that you and I can think on the same wavelength in order for the insanity that I feel to be part of the Kingdom Hearts community as a whole. That way, when Tetsuya Nomura retires, I will become the new Tetsuya Nomura, and then I will become the god of Kingdom Hearts. And who's gonna stop me? The mouse? He's not gonna stop me. I beat the 13 Xehanorts. He didn't. I am so not happy. I'm sorry. I've been having a rough time. Anyway. Rick and Morty Kingdom Balls came out in April 2024 and everyone was like...
But is it canon?
Now, before we get too far into the weeds, I'll go over the basics of Rick and Morty since my audience is primarily here for Kingdom Hearts content, and they may not even know what a wubba-lubba-dub-dub is. Rick and Morty is an adult animated TV show that began airing in 2013. The story focuses on a kid named Morty who is trying to live his best life while also not being the brightest bulb in the lighting section of the Home Depot. Along with his grandfather Rick, who has just returned from a multi-decade-long absence and is the smartest man in the universe, as well as being a crippling alcoholic, but who isn't? Rick uses his vast intellect to take Morty on various adventures to different planets, galaxies, and universes. The show has kind of a Monster of the Week type of writing, with little hints and teases to what will become the major conflict for the season finale. Now, lastly, before discussing the comic itself, I want to talk about the writers of this 4-part miniseries. Do these writers have a deep love and understanding for Kingdom Hearts like I do, or have they just seen the Kingdom Hearts 3 Woody meme and they called it a day? Josh Trullo and Ryan Little are the lucky guys who have been chosen to write and create this piece of media. I've been trying to find interviews with these guys talking about Kingdom Balls, but shocker, no one other than me wants to know about whether or not these guys are fucking nerds. If I had to guess though, it's probably Trullo, who is the closeted Kingdom Hearts nerd, because from everything that I could find, this looks to be Little's first ever writing credit. While Trullo, on the other hand, has quite the list of writing credits here. Let's see, he's written for fucking Blue Beetle, Superman, and The Flash? God damn, dude. Okay, you got my attention. Hi, editing Hado here. For some reason, I did not see the multiple what-if stories that Ryan Little has written, so ignore that part about how he has not written anything, because he most certainly has, and is probably why we have the Disney Marvel aspect of all of this. Alright, let's start this thing, whatever it is. Kingdom Balls, Chapter 1. Our story begins like most stories do, with Morty looking for alien porn in his garage when he accidentally finds Rick's ball blade. That's a fucking sentence. Rick then explains the 4 story realms and how being a ball blader used to get him so much tail. Morty accidentally opens up a portal, causing them, along with Jerry, that's Morty's dad for anyone who cares, to be sucked into one of the 4 story realms, man versus man. They begin following Rick in order to get back home when they're attacked by a royalty-free cartoon dog. Rick uses his power of a ball blader to turn Morty and Jerry into a magician and knight, respectively. They defeat the copyright-free enemy and proceed to their goal in order to go home. As it seems like their adventure is already over, the Castrati? I don't know, I'm probably going to change that multiple times throughout the course of this video. Those guys appear, who are all supposedly ball bladers and traitors. Jerry and Morty are sent to the next story realm, Man vs. Nature, where they discover that Rick has been transformed into a mysterious new creature. Chapter 2. Morty begins battle with Monster Rick as Jerry just kinda stands there and tries not to die. However, Rick is too powerful for the two of them until a new ball blader appears and causes the Monster Rick to flee.
Really fast, I really don't like the term ball blader. It makes me feel icky. So, just going forward, we're just gonna be calling them bladers because I would one day like to get monetized.
The name of this new blader is Gargan, the Nature Man, and he reveals that Rick has been transformed into a dreamless. That sounds familiar. Weird. The dreamless are created when you cling to a dream for too long and you let it take over your life, consuming you. Trying to figure out what dream turned Rick into the creature that he is now, Morty ends up summoning Rick's blade. Gargan reveals that if we destroy the blade, we should be able to allow you to dreamwalk, Morty. And then he recites the Blader's Creed. It's not about the dream, it's about the balls. Scene change. The supposed leader of the Casamanata is looking over Rick's his dream ball, when suddenly it flies into the air and disappears. He figures that since Rick's blade is still out there somewhere, the ball itself cannot be at full power. Meanwhile, dreamless Rick is consuming the dreams of clouds. As one does. Morty and Gargan fight Rick so Morty can go dreamwalking, where he discovers Rick on a beach. Wow, that looks very familiar. Rick and Morty end up having a back and forth about the meaning and value behind the dream that turned him. Morty finally convinces Rick to pick a new dream to strive for, bringing Rick out of his dreamless state. All seems well until Gargan is blasted through the fucking chest by the leader of the Casalalama as he reveals that he and Rick have history. Chapter 3. While in Man vs. Society, it's revealed that the leader of Discount Organization 13 is named Julio, and had quite the spicy relationship with Rick Sanchez until he learned about how Julio chewed his gum. That was simply just too much for him and he broke off the relationship then and there. Everyone has standards, I guess. To stop Julio, Rick says they need a blade, one that's powerful, pure, and something preferably unshaven. Why am I doing this to myself? Morty ends up being the only option they have because Jerry is, well, he's Jerry. So Morty focuses really hard and summons his own blade that doesn't have two orbs at the pommel, but instead has what I really only can describe as a lady? I don't know. Now that they have two bladers on their side, they begin fighting their way through V Society, and Rick pulls some KH3 nonsense, throwing multiple blades towards Julio. Julio, in a last-ditch attempt to win this fight, ends up destroying V Self and having everyone plummeting towards the final story realm, Man vs. Self. Chapter 4. Those who are able to thrust their blades into all four of the story realm cores are given the title of Laureate, though no one has ever achieved this. This is what Rick tells Morty, explaining that where they are now was once called Man vs. Self, until Rick himself shut it down. Julio comes out of a rectangle for some reason and says that the true nature of dreams and of this realm is facing your own dreams, becoming the you that you dream of, your ideal self. Julio then creates a Julio Rick that makes me extremely uncomfortable. To simplify things, I'll be referring to him as JR. Rick and Morty realize they need bigger, dreams to beat these two, and begin grabbing blades from the battleground, trying to hold off JR and Julio while Jerry looks for bigger blades. The massive blade is enough to create a massive crater and force Julio to turn himself into an equally big blade that is even more capable of beating the shit out of Rick and Morty. JR starts rushing towards some random-ass podium that wasn't there 10 minutes ago, and thrusts his Julio blade into it, and all of the blades from this not a Keyblade graveyard begins to fly up to form a... Come on, this just has to be copyright infringement at this point. JR begins to pry open the door since he can't open it normally, and you know what would be incredibly useful in a situation like this? A key. Anyway, they turn Jerry into a magnet to make the blades follow him instead of adding to the door. This plan works a little bit too well because the other four story realms start a collision course for them.
And you see, that's really weird, because Rick himself said that we were on B's self, but you can clearly see in the panel here, you can see B's self colliding into the thing. So I don't even know what's going on. I didn't read the comic book, but clearly something's happening.
Rick tells Morty to keep the door wedged for as long as he can by giving it everything he's got, and he'll be right back. Julio reveals his plan to basically combine reality and dreams to make them indistinguishable from one another. Rick tells Julio about their first date and how he once told him, "The biggest dream in the world isn't worth half as much as a small cup of reality." This makes Julio realize that he's the stupid main villain in an idiotic miniseries of comic books that I'm almost convinced I'm the only one who has actually read. Anyway, they close the door and the story ends with Rick getting a key. Hey, look at that! It's even got a little heart on it. Oh, and he became a Lorite. Honestly, it's really hard to tell whether or not the writers of this series are actual fans of the franchise. There are some extremely iconic moments that are replicated or straight out parodied at the beginning of each chapter, whether that be Sora sinking into the ocean, the Alban Aether chess set, or the Keyblade graveyard itself. While yes, these moments are recognizable to any Kingdom Hearts fan, they're also pretty recognizable to someone who has only had surface level interaction with the series itself, especially after the promotional era for Kingdom Hearts 3. The Dreamless seemed like a pretty obvious Heartless parallel, but Dream Drop Distance did introduce the Dream Eaters as enemy variants throughout the series. Rick in his Dreamless form, though, does seem to have more of a coloration of a nobody more than anything else. So maybe it's some sort of culmination of the three enemy types all into one? I don't know. I'm probably reading way too far into this, but I'm trying to see logic in this, and that's probably my problem. There are just so many Easter eggs here, like Jerry floating in the death animation after he gets beaten up by the royalty-free dog, a joke about Donald not healing. They even throw in a little meta jab going like, oh, do people actually still find this funny? Also, have you guys noticed that there's been kind of this like Donald Duck renaissance where people are pointing out that it's not the duck's fault that he didn't heal you, it was yours because you were a dumbass kid that didn't look into the settings to make sure he does? I don't know. I feel like I'm not at fault there. I'm about 90% sure that these guys are fans of the franchise. There is a fair share of generic information in here for what I assume are the normal Rick and Morty fans that haven't played Kingdom Hearts. And then there's some more deep cut stuff, like when Rick channels his inner KH3 Sora and summons more Keyblades than he knows what to do with. God, that scene in KH3 is so cool. Can you believe that some people think that this is a bad game? Anyway, to the question that was posed at the beginning of the video, are these comics canon? If we're talking about Kingdom Hearts, absolutely not. Nomura does have a habit of making any side project he's working on into critical lore entries into this franchise, but luckily Square Enix nor Disney would give a green light to anything close to this. However, this is canon within the Rick and Morty multiverse, specifically Dimension C-132 is where the comics take place, and the show Rick and Morty takes place in Dimension C-137, or at least that's where Rick's from. I don't know, it's convoluted. This is at least what I've been able to gather through research, so if I'm wrong on any of this, take it up with Mr. John Reddit. Anyway, thanks for letting me share this brain rot with you guys for a little bit. Rick and Morty Kingdom Balls isn't the best comic I've read recently, but it was okay. If you're a Kingdom Hearts fan or a fan of the show, you'll probably get a couple chuckles out of it. If you guys want to read it yourself, go ahead and head over to your local comic book shops, see if they got a copy in stock, and support them because they really need it. Thanks for watching, everybody. May your heart be your guiding key, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.